This Steve Jones Show podcast is now loading. The Steve Jones Show podcast is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, Brewers Outlet, and NIL Game Changers. Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Purdy Insurance, Brewers Outlet, and Sunbury Motor Company. Now from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
This half hour brought to you by Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket, imports, domestics, microbrews, the best selection of beer anywhere. Time to start stocking up for a big Sunday of football. The irony is I'll be watching the game in Michigan, and Detroit is not going to be in it. I'll explain that in a moment. Wine coolers, water, soft drinks, snacks. They roast their peanuts fresh and hot every day. 6 great flavors of slushies, and now ready-to-drink cocktails. Crown Royal, Jack Daniel's, High Noon. And the Pickle Bar, led by the Barrels and the Dills, indeed second to none. All the Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. I'll be in Michigan to watch the championship games on Sunday because Penn State plays at Iowa Friday. It's a 9 o'clock Eastern time game. And Saturday, the team will fly to probably Ypsilanti, and be there, practice Sunday, watch both the games from the hotel on Sunday, and then play Monday night against Michigan, then come home. So that's why that's going to be like that. It's going to be interesting. I mean, look, John was right. John talked about turnovers in basketball, and there is a slight difference between a turnover in basketball and a live ball turnover in basketball. A turnover in basketball, the ball goes out of bounds. It's a dead possession for you, but at least you can go back and set up on defense. A live ball turnover goes from a dead possession to you to a live one for them and a great scoring opportunity. And usually, I'd say 2/3 of the time, they score off of live ball turnovers. Football, we saw it all weekend long. Turnovers. Detroit killed itself with turnovers and didn't have a defense. They had so many issues with their defense, with injuries, guys off the practice squad now playing in the game, that they couldn't stop Washington. They couldn't stop them. Okay? Baltimore had not had more than 2 turnovers in a game all season. They had 3 last night. Didn't win.
I think I read Lamar hadn't turned the ball over twice in a game since last year's AFC Championship game.
Yeah. And for Mark Andrews, one of those incredibly tough nights, because one of the fumbles was his, and then, of course, the 2-point conversion that wasn't completed. And he's a great player. Mark Andrews isn't a good player. Mark Andrews is a great player. And it was just obviously difficult. I know he didn't meet with the media afterward, but that's hard. I mean, see, this is what we kept trying to talk about the college football playoff that people weren't experiencing until now. James got up in front of the team before they played SMU, and he says, look, this is it. You got 65 plays on offense, 65 plays on defense, 15 to 20 on special teams. He said, this is it. He says, you got to make each one of them count. Well, then they beat SMU. And guess what? He had to make the same speech all over again for the Fiesta Bowl. You get 65 plays on offense. You only have 65 plays on defense, 15 to 20 on special teams. Right? You got to play each one like everything depends on it. Then he had to give the same speech again before the Orange Bowl. And the Orange Bowl, in the end, showed everybody how hard this whole thing is, right? And it's really hard. And it is such a grind because the competition gets ratcheted up. From the second you go to the playoff, the competition gets ratcheted up beyond words. And the pressure on every play is beyond words. Now, I was talking with Stefan Wisniewski, and of course, he played on the Super Bowl champion Eagles, started and played, and he started and played on the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. Right? And we were talking about it, and he looked at me. It was, I think it was before the Fiesta Bowl we were talking. Because I talk to Steph every week. He's around the program every week. He and Joel do a great job as the chaplains on the team. And he said to me something, "You ready for the game?" I said, "Yeah, I'm all set." I said, "I'm fine. I know I've got everything prepared the way I usually have." I said, "I'm good. I know exactly what I'm going to do." He says, "Yeah." He says, he says, "You've been around the block so much, you know it's, once it starts, it's another game in terms of how you do it." I said, "Yeah." I said, "But it's not like that for them." I said, "They know there's a consequence on every play." He goes, "Yeah." That's why I asked the question to Jack. I can't remember which one it was. I can't remember if it was SMU, Boise, or Notre Dame. One of them. About, and it may have been SMU because it was the first game. About, look, you played in, well, he played in 3 of them. He didn't play in the 4th one because he was banged up. I think a lot of people don't realize that. It was always the running joke every time the two of us go to the Rose Bowl. He always tells me, he says, "Steve," he says, "look at that box over there. We're standing on the field of the Rose Bowl." This is a practice day. It wasn't game day. And he says, "I was safe and sound up there." He says, with the old man, Art Rooney, with the chief. He said for the last one, he says, he got hurt during the playoffs. But he played in 3 of those games. All right? And he said, look, he says, it's not another game because in every play there is a potential for greatness. There's a potential for getting caught. And it's not like there's a game next week that's going to make up for it. So it's not just, that's why whenever you hear people say it's just another game, right? Who are you trying to convince? Me or you? Hey, you get to this point, it's not just another game. When the consequence is your season is over, it's not just another game. It's not like going to a bowl game and your season's over after the game because it's a bowl game. Okay? It's not like that. And that's something that that I think people discount. Well, it's just another game. It's not just another game. I was critical of Jalen Hurts earlier because I think that they need more. They need more of a better, consistent performance from him than what they're getting. I feel like we've been seeing Jalen Hurts tentative. Even when he runs, he's tentative, except on the tush push. Okay. But he but every play has a consequence to it. Because if you don't win the game, it's done. So it's not just another game. So whenever I hear people say, players, coaches, well, it's just another game. No, it's not just another game. Now in the broadcast booth, Steph was talking to me about what I was doing. I said, Steph, I have the same routine I go through to get ready for it. I said, I'm all ready. I said, I know. I said, and I know what the consequences of the game happen to be, right? And and look, I can freely admit to everybody, I've done this for a long time, right? The Notre Dame game hurt. Now, in the moment, you can't call it that way. You have to describe what you see, but it doesn't mean I didn't go back to the hotel and just like, wow. That hurt. Because everybody knows which team I want to win. But for the players and for the coaches, if anybody says it's just another game, it is not just another game. You get to the playoffs, it is not just another game. The consequences are greater, and there's no other time to make up for it, except in the afternoon or evening you're playing. Who are you trying to convince, me or you? Ryan Day, by the way, not happy about the fact that SEC officials are being used tonight.
Did you read the story on that?
A little bit.
About there hasn't been an offensive holding call by an Ohio State opponent called since the end of September.
Which ones have been called with Abdul Carter?
Well, I'm not arguing that point, but I just find it really odd. Like that's what started it. Apparently, he's been in Tony Peretti's ear that nobody has called holding against his defensive lineman since the end of September.
When was Abdul Carter called on a holding penalty?
Oh, hey, one of my favorite highlights of the Notre Dame game was them talking about what a great play somebody on Notre Dame made as Abdul was being dragged down in the background.
Right, exactly. Okay, JT Tuileamalo, okay, Jack Sawyer, Denai Dennis Sutton, and Abdul Carter are four of the top defensive ends in America. And none of those four are getting holding calls. That's a joke. That's a joke. That's wrong. Okay? I'm sorry. You have to call it a couple of times in a game just to tell the offensive line. You can't do that. Sorry, you got to do it. And Ryan Day is not wrong. I mean, I've seen JTT held, I've seen Sawyer held, I've seen Denai held, and I've seen Abdul Carter. My goodness. I mean, the fact that he was able to get 12 sacks this year, despite the fact that he's got people draped on him, I mean, that's absurd. That's absurd. I know you can call penalties on every play, but you got to call a couple of them because now you're trying to tell them you can't do that. I see you do it again, I'm going to call it again. I mean, when you're out there, it's like anything else. Okay? You've got to be able to show leadership out there. Okay? Leadership involves, discretion, and leadership also involves, hey, you do it, okay? I'm going to call it again the next time. I'm going to call it again the next time. You do the same thing, I'm going to call it again. You better change. Right? And these guys officials have to show leadership in that area. They've got to show leadership out there, right? They got to be smart about it, show discretion, get rid of something so it's not a problem later. And one game after another, I didn't see that happen this year in that regard. I mean, I saw nobody get called for holding. I think which game was it? I think they called Nick Dawkins for holding in a game. It was not a playoff game. And I think I made the comment that says, oh, now you call holding? On the center. I said, now you call holding? I said, I've been watching 11 get grabbed, thrown, right, twisted. I said, also, no, that's nothing. I said, but you call, I said, Jack's laughing, right? Because he was agreeing with me. I said, no. I said, but you called that one. Hi, right. That may have been the SMU game. I think it was the SMU game. I'm like, really?
I was going to say it was either the Big Ten championship game or the SMU game.
It was the SMU game.
Because there was one of those games that there was two or three that were pretty egregious.
You're like, oh, That's why I finally just said, really? You called that one? I watched 11 and 33 of their jerseys just about ripped off them all season long. But you got them on that one. I said, great call. Did you see what happened at Pirates Fest this weekend?
Oh, where the play-by-play guy got a little indignant because they were chanting "sell the team"?
Well, yeah, Greg Brown tried to comment that. Greg's a good guy. I mean, Greg's a really good guy.
I read his quotes. He's holding water for some not great people.
Well, he's also employed by the club.
Well, that's true, too.
Okay, let's be honest about it. He's not like, yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, guess what? Guess what? You say that, you're going to be standing with him.
You'll be chanting in the crowd as well.
Yeah, sell the team. I'm with you. No, Greg, hey, thanks for your service. Okay. So they start chanting and Greg says, hey, come on, we got to, we can't do this. And then Travis Williams was the one who had to sit there and kind of, calm it down. I think he said be respectful. And Ben Cherington was there. Derek Shelton was there. Nutting was not in attendance.
Well, of course he wasn't.
Of course he wasn't, is right. We know at the end of the day, this is all passion that is turned into frustration relative to winning, Williams said to the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. I think the points that you are making in terms of where is Bob, that's why he has us here. We're here to execute and make sure that we win. No, you're there as the scapegoats. All right. To answer your immediate question that you said earlier, Bob is not going to sell the team. He cares about Pittsburgh. He cares about winning. He cares about us putting a winning product on the field. And we're working towards that every day. Yet, when it comes to a salary cap, guess which guy is going to vote against it because he doesn't want a floor?
Hey, guess which guy has over $1 billion and could spend some money, too?
Enough of the suits issues. Let's get back to Bob Nutting.
They're just going to be mad in 4 years when Paul Skeens is pitching for the Dodgers.
Oh, everybody's pitching for the Dodgers.
Yeah.
The problem has been they've had okay first halves, right? Their second halves in recent years have been terrible, and this season was one of them. I mean, the Pirates were 55 and 52 at the trade deadline. They went 21 and 34 the last 2 months. That seems to happen to them consistently every year.
Yeah. I feel like it's the first 9 is usually pretty good. It's when they have to go, their depth is what leaves a lot to be desired.
Yeah, no, they don't have depth. It's fun having a guy like Skeens. And again, I pointed this out maybe 50 times on the show. I really don't know how good a manager Derek Shelton is. I think he's good, right? And he has to work all the time. But you look in August and September. He's never managed a meaningful game in August and September in his career. Remember I was talking to John Griffin about playing the 4-minute. I referred to Mike Rhodes calls it the 6-minute game. That's why I said it was 6. John called it the 4-minute game. I asked him how much he enjoyed coaching the 4-minute game because Mike loves coaching what he calls the 6-minute game. He loves doing it. And we talked about it on the show on Thursday night. And I don't know when you get into the 6th, 7th, and 8th, and 9th innings what kind of manager Derek Shelton is in a meaningful game in August and September. He's never managed one. I'm not being critical of him here. I'm just making a factual statement.
Yeah, let's be honest. We'll probably never know until he goes to another team.
Yeah. He's done well enough to get them certain places. But look, I'm sorry, you own the team, and you should, if you're going to do something like this, you don't send other people out to do your bidding. Go out there and do it yourself. Okay? It's okay. You can sit there and answer questions. People are mad at you. Go ahead. You can answer questions. Nothing wrong with that. Right? Okay? You have your riches with the club, because the Pirates actually are a profit-making deal because of those people sitting out there. They're the ones that buy the tickets. They buy the merchandise. They're the ones that give you the TV ratings. Right? They do all that for you. Right? And, that means something. So it's all okay to go out there and talk to them. I don't mean argue with them. Talk with them. Let me listen to what you have to say and what you think. Just, everybody, don't yell. Let's just talk. Right? And when you're done saying your piece, I will give you an answer to it. Sounds simple, but then again, I am a simple sort. The ACC is contemplating changes to the conference title game.
Going someplace colder so they can be prepared for their opening round road playoff game?
Oh, every show you're getting more cruel. I've noticed that about it. Man. It's like, what's good, though, is you've jumped on the soup bandwagon. That's great. All right. We'll come back. More in a moment. Brought to you by Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
When car repairs get difficult.
Well, I just don't know.
Me neither.
We get good. Sunbury Motors. More than quality new and used cars, Sunbury Motors specializes in complicated auto repair diagnosis. They can handle intricate repairs and even complete auto body with service open Monday through Friday, 7 till 4. And Sunbury Motors has made simple repairs easy. Maintaining your vehicle is necessary. Finding the time to do it is difficult. Welcome to Sunbury Motors Quick Lane. Just walk in or call ahead. Relax in their remodeled waiting room with Wi-Fi, beverages, and snacks. While Sunbury Motors factory-trained techs take care of your oil change, tire alignments, brakes, and inspections. Quick Lane, 6:30 to 6, Monday through Friday, Saturday, 6:30 till 2. Sunbury Motors, Ford and Hyundai, North 4th Street, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf. We take the out of auto repair.
Hi, this is Season. For over 100 years, the Purdy Insurance Agency has been protecting families and businesses of the greater Susquehanna Valley and beyond. With the experience of our trained and knowledgeable staff, you can rest assured that your needs will be evaluated and met by some of the industry's best representatives. No matter what your insurance needs are, call Purdy Insurance today at 570-286-5855. Visit our website at purdyinsurance.com or check us out on Facebook to see what we can do for you.
Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and Brewers Outlet. Now from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
To be with you on this Monday, and Penn State basketball is coming up tonight in the Jordan Center. 6 o'clock the air time, 6:30 the game, Penn State and Rutgers. And that means Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey will be in the building tonight. Two tremendous prospects. Coming off a good win, by the way, 85-82 at Nebraska. They won 2 in a row coming into this one. Penn State will play without Puff Johnson tonight. In fact, as Mike said, he's going to be out a bit. And that's where we are going into this one. It is for Penn State, it's a very important game tonight. You're at home. You need to get it. This one you need to get. And you go from there. They've hit a rough patch right now. They need to get the game. That is tonight. National championship game tonight. Ohio State, Notre Dame. The key for Ohio State is they've got to be able to stop the running game of Notre Dame. And it's Price, it's Love, and it's Riley Leonard. Yeah, I know that they hit the touchdown pass to Greathouse and another key play to Greathouse. But the reality is Penn State on the touchdown play just made a mistake. Notre Dame's receivers don't threaten you. Ohio State's receivers are constantly threatening you. There isn't a single Notre Dame receiver that would start for Ohio State. None. Okay? The tight end Evans would start for Ohio State. He's better than G. Scott. Interesting that the freshman tackle who got hurt against Penn State got replaced by Tosh Baker. Baker was the starter in the preseason, was out for the year, but Notre Dame's season went so long he can play now. He's going to start tonight. He was out for the year if the season ended in November. But now, since it's January 20th, he's well enough to play. He actually played pretty well when he came into the game against Penn State. Defensively, secondary for Notre Dame, really good. They're going to have to get more pressure on Howard, the quarterback. Games indoors, kicking game should not be an issue for either team. Simple as that. I think Ohio State is, in my opinion, seeing the two teams in person this year, I think they're 10 points better. That doesn't mean it's going to be a 10-point game. I'm just saying that based on all things equal, 10 points better. Now, if Ohio State turns the ball over, well, that changes the dynamic, doesn't it? We just watched Buffalo and Baltimore end up being a 2-point game. Turnovers made all the difference. You just watched Philadelphia play the Rams, and the Williams fumble happened after the safety, right?
Correct. It was the Eagles had kicked to them after the safety.
Right. So here are the Rams down 1 and with the ball. And Williams rips off a decent run and fumbles the ball. And the Eagles turn around and bring it right back. Okay. And that turnovers make all the difference in the world. In any sport. I don't care if you're playing hockey, turnovers, where he's talking about, turnovers in hockey all the time. We talk about it in basketball all the time. We talk about it in football all the time. In baseball, it's walks and errors. Those free base runners that. And I'll keep track. When I'm doing a baseball game, I keep track of that. I'll keep track of guys that reached on a walk and scored. He's walked 5 tonight. 3 of them have scored. I keep track of that because I think it's that important. I know it's not an analytic. I should be sitting there telling you what its WAR number is, but I get this weird thing about actually doing the game.
I feel the other thing about the Williams fumble is, they drive and the Rams take their lead at that point in the game. Not only does that, obviously the momentum's used for the Rams, but I think the Eagles fans turn on the Eagles at that point too.
What, that fan base?
I know it's a little surprising, but early fourth quarter, here we go again. Saquon's saving them from themselves too.
Whew, are you? You got that right. Ay. You got that right. I mean, what I find interesting is this. Who considers themselves to be the most intimidating fan base in sports? I'm talking about self.
I would say them, yes.
Philadelphia fans think they're the most intimidating force in sports, right? Right? We're the most intimidating crowds. Yet, in the last couple of years, the Diamondbacks won at Citizens Bank Park. Series over. Astros won at Citizens Bank Park. Series is over. Knicks went in and beat the Sixers 118-115 to close out that series. In fact, there may have been more Knicks fans at one of the games than there were Philadelphia fans. And look at all those games during the Andy Reid era that the Eagles lost at home in the NFC Championship games. Yikes. We're the most intimidating fans out there. No, you're loud. And I think that, by the way, loud and passionate, I love. Eagles fans, I'll be the first to stand and applaud you. You are loud and passionate. Philadelphia fans, loud and passionate. But you're not intimidating. You really think you're intimidating professional athletes? Really? We're intimidating. Not really. Your track record tells me you're not doing a good enough job. Now, can you affect the road team coming in and a rookie quarterback maybe having to go through hand signals, silent counseling? Absolutely. Absolutely. But you weren't intimidating them. Based on the track record in big games, no. Tell me I'm wrong. I've got a track record here that says you're not doing that great. What, nobody ever looks this stuff up?
I feel like this is how we're going to poke the bear tomorrow.
Oh, they'll be easy with him. Are you kidding me? The magic words are going to be, you're not that all that intimidating. You keep losing big games at home. I can do that part, right? Half serious, half joking. And then I can do the thing about Hurts. And after that, you and I just have to do nothing.
Pretty much.
The Hurts thing last week was a riot. He's a game manager. There's no such thing as a game manager. That's why the media creates so many different stupid code words. Like, in other words, they're crutches. No, he's a game manager. No, at some point you are expected to make some plays. Okay? You got to make some plays. Okay? Are you as good as that guy? No. But you're not just handing the ball off. At some point, you have to make a play. Right? You have to avoid a rush. At some point, you got to be able to make a play downfield. At some point, you got to keep it and go and get a first down yourself. At some point, you got to make some plays. You're not a game manager. There's so many ridiculous cliches that are used in media today that are just crutches to act like you know what you're talking about. You just sit there and go, oh, what are you doing? Now, are there some guys where there's more of a burden on them to make a play? Yes. Okay? There's more of a burden on them to make a play than maybe some other quarterbacks. I feel like in a lot of ways there's actually more of a burden on Josh Allen to make some plays in Buffalo. Okay? When Brady's with the Patriots, there was a burden on him to make plays all the time because the Patriots always had good receivers, good running backs. And he finally got a great receiver in Randy Moss. The irony is they went 18-0 and lost to the Giants in the Super Bowl with that group. But there was always a burden on Brady to make plays. There was always a burden on Peyton Manning to make plays. Like all the time. There are some other guys that they like. It's important for them not to make mistakes, but at the same time, you've got to make plays at some point. There's just not a tremendous burden on you on every single play to be the one to make the play. He's a game manager. Okay, tell me what that means. You use the big media word. Go ahead, tell me what does it mean. Nobody knows what it means. Well, I just explained what the burden of some quarterbacks are greater than others. But you're still going to have to make plays. At some point, you can't go through 60 minutes and make no plays. And by the way, you're not calling any plays. You may be changing something at the line of scrimmage or picking an option that was given to you. Hey, do I think there's more of a burden on Jalen Daniels to make plays? Probably. But again, he is. We went through an era with Trey Lance, a Mitchell Trubisky, and a couple of other guys who had limited starting time in college. Limited. Daniels is not that guy. You're talking about 5 years as a starter. Hurts was a starter at Alabama and at Oklahoma. Mahomes started at Texas Tech. Allen started at Wyoming. They all had considerable experience on the collegiate level before they got to the NFL level. I think that makes a difference. I really do. You know, I mean, you look at any of the great quarterbacks. Joe Montana had a lot of starting experience at Notre Dame. You know, Steve Young had to step in. He had a lot of his starting experience at BYU and the USFL. Then at Tampa Bay, where you learn that you get hit a lot. You know, but there are guys that have just, to me, experience before you get to the NFL. I realize that there is a desire to get to the NFL as early as you can because then it accelerates the period of time to your second contract, which is critical because the second contract's where you do really make the money. I mean, you really make big money when you hit that second contract. You can get there sooner, the sooner you get to the league. I got that. That I completely understand that part of it. But there are a couple of guys that didn't have enough experience in college. And because of that, like, the NFL's not there to give you experience. And I don't think it's any coincidence. I mean, you know, yesterday, I mean, Stafford's a veteran. And he played like it yesterday. He almost brought them back in the game. You know, those aren't the conditions he's used to playing in, but he's a veteran. He knows how to play. The Eagles put some pretty good pressure on him yesterday. Right? Yet he still made plays. Why? Because he's just been around the block and he knows how to make plays. He even threw a couple of sidearm ones yesterday. Lamar Jackson is a great quarterback. Right? He ends up on the wrong side of this. Stroud, is 2 years, has made tremendous strides. He was a 2-year starter at Ohio State. Lamar Jackson started all that time at Louisville. These are the guys that didn't win yesterday. Okay? Or over the weekend, I should say. Right? Goff, same thing. I mean, Goff's quarterbacked in a Super Bowl. Didn't win it, but he quarterbacked in it. And he's quarterbacked in 2 NFC championship games. He's been around. Experience makes a big difference in these things. Makes a huge difference. That's why when Hurts did get banged up yesterday, Eagle fans probably, because I think Kenny Pickett's banged up too, right?
No, he was banged up, but it was going to be Kenny Pickett.
Right. But I'm saying, but he's banged up too. Yeah. In other words, they weren't sending in a guy like, hey, here I go. I'm all set.
Or as Jeff McClain mistakenly tweeted yesterday, Kenny Gainwell, and everybody thought Kenny Pickett was really hurt.
Gainwell is a good backup player.
Oh, and he's perfect for when Saquon's your starter.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what you're hoping for. A guy that can get in there and right. The problem would be if you had to go with like 3 games in a row with him.
Yeah,
I mean, now you got a problem. But boy, I'll tell you, does Barkley make a difference? Goodness, the defense for the Eagles has played very well. But I'll say this: when they went hurry up yesterday, and Washington is not a team that huddles. Okay. The Eagles' defense got gassed yesterday in the fourth quarter. They were tired. And if you don't substitute, I'm talking about offensively. Offensively, you don't substitute, they don't have to hold the ball.
No, and I go back to the first segment. I think that was their biggest mistake at the end was those last couple plays.
Yes,
it gave Jalen Carter a chance to get his win back, and he made the 2 plays at the end of the game.
I agree with you. I agree with that exactly. I think that's exactly the point. And, yeah. He's going to get cold. And it's cold now, isn't it?
Oh, it's ridiculously cold now.
I haven't been outside yet. I'm not going to go outside till I have to go to the game tonight.
Yeah. Smart move, my friend.
It's like...
Oh, to be young again. My soon-to-be 10-year-old's outside playing in the snow.
No, because I did the pregame show with Mike yesterday after practice. All right. And by the way, the Lady Lions beat Ohio State yesterday.
I think it was their first top 10 win since 2012.
Yeah, 62-59. The end of the game, Lady Lions are up 3. They're in the backcourt, and they threw a pass and got intercepted. They stepped back for a 3, and it rattled and came out, and the Lady Lions got the rebound. You're like, hey. But they won.
Yeah. They
won. It's a great win for Carolyn Keeger's team, so great win for them. Thrilled. And so we get this tonight. I think we have the coaches show tomorrow night because we've got to leave Thursday. That's why. I don't know when we're leaving it, Todd, so I'll let you know.
All right.
We're definitely doing the show from Iowa City on Friday. That
okay.
I do know. And I'm doing this Monday show from Ann Arbor on Monday. Or someplace. Ypsilanti, Ann Arbor. I don't know what hotels we're staying in. I haven't even asked yet. It gets to the point where you stop asking. It's like, okay, where are we going? Okay. I just kind of follow.
Just walk in the door wherever the bus drops you off.
Okay. At times it is like that. Actually, I do usually ask like a couple days, hey, by the way, where we're staying? All right. Especially like when we were in Minnesota, I said to Ben, where are we staying? He said, JW Marriott. I said, because I had to figure out what I was doing the next day in terms of getting to the airport. Well, it turned out we stayed right next to the airport. I'm looking out my window at the runway. Like, well, this won't take long. Did I tell you about after the game? Minnesota?
Did you have a delay? You had a delay, didn't you?
No. After the Minnesota game, everything down to Daytona was
okay.
Right. I looked at it and I said, geez, Jack, maybe I'll take the bus to the airport with the team and then get just dropped off at the gate. Because the hotel's right next to the airport. Like I said, I can see the runway. I mean, when I say I can see the runway, it wasn't like, in the distance is the runway. No, the runway's right there. Like, okay. So, I got on the bus, and it's like 20, 25 minutes to go from the bank, the stadium, all the way to the airport, which is down near Bloomington and Mall of America. I'm on the bus the whole thing. I get there, and the guy says, hey, and I talked to the bus driver about this ahead of time. We had it all set up. He says, hey, who's ever getting off? Time to get off here. So, boom, I got off the bus. And I walked to the hotel. Now, there was a highway, which I knew. But the key for I get to a certain point, I'm walking along. It's dark. I'm like, okay. Because it was a 3:30 game, so it's 2:30 Central Time. So now it's dark. And I said, I know there's an overpass here. And I get to the edge of the highway at the fence. I'm at the fence, so in other words, I can't go onto the highway. Right? I'm like, okay, where is this thing? I said, I think it's to the left, and I guessed. Well, I guessed right. So I climbed up the hill of the overpass, got on the overpass, walked over, boom, came down, got on the other side, entered into the hotel next to Mall of America, got in, but I walked. Why call it Uber? It seemed cheaper.
Just so you didn't pull a Jay Leno. Did you see what he did in Pittsburgh a couple weeks ago?
No.
He was staying next to an Applebee's or something out in, is it Brentwood near Pittsburgh? And fell down the hill and broke his arm and bruised up his face.
Oh.
Trying to walk over to eat dinner at Applebee's.
Oh, that's not good.
Riblets are not worth that.
No, it's not. Not in the least. They're good, but not that good.
No. Right?
But yeah, I was up climbing the hill to the overpass. I'm like going, all right, this is good. I like it. But I liked it, especially when I got to the top one. Okay, now this works. Yeah. All right. We'll come back, wrap it up in a moment on News Radio 1070 WKOK.